Witness TV.
Hello viewers, you're most welcome to yet another episode of Soaring with Eagles. My name is Pastor Joy Ninsiima, and today we are honored to host a remarkable woman, a visionary entrepreneur, a passionate advocate for women, and a voice of faith and influence. She is the founder of The Cradle and the driving force behind the Dominant Conference, empowering thousands of women to rise into purpose and leadership. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Manuela Mulondo.
I don't know if I've ever had someone introduce me that sweetly. Thank you so much for having me, Pastor Joy. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So what are some of the defining moments from your childhood that shaped the woman you are today?
I think the beginning one, I mean, they're various, obviously, because that's how God has fashioned our lives. He's fashioned us such that all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. So you find that everything that has ever happened to you in your life has been fashioned such that. So it's not just a few defining moments, but all of them together, because every defining moment is within a certain experience of your entire life. Right. And so there are many moments. So let me say that my entire upbringing was something that if I had the book to write, my entire childhood, my entire upbringing made me the woman that I am today. But when we talk about defining moments, there were moments such as in my, just growing up and realizing in school, and I think this is one of my earliest memories, was being left behind to enter, as my mom and dad were leaving me to enter nursery school. One of my earliest memories, and I was crying.
How old was you?
I was 3 years, obviously.
And you remember?
And I remember. Ooh. And I remember so clearly and so evidently as I cried my heart out. I saw their Dunstan car. It was a Dunstan, white in color, move away, and I cried my heart out, not understanding why they would leave me behind, and as a 3-year-old child, to people and strangers. Very defining moment, because now I work with a cradle, and so I understand when children cry. I understand that this might be one of their most defining moments. Yes, they look like they don't remember anything, but it does. And I remember for my parents, they were literally, they didn't want to hear me cry. My mom didn't want to hear me cry, and so she left me there, and my dad left me there. But right now, when I'm telling moms and they're leaving their children, I say goodbye. Let them cry. That's fine, but say goodbye and say, I'll be back at 5 p.m. I'll be back at 3 p.m. to see you. I'll be back at 1 p.m. to see you, and make sure that you're back at that time. Now, for me, after that, as a kind of colors, so charts, I never ever cried again. But it was a moment that I will remember for a very long time. I also remember growing up, one of the moments that defined a lot for me, just in terms of understanding the kind of person that I was that my brothers and I had been beaten by someone. And when we were beaten, I immediately took us to the police station. And I said, we've been beaten. And the police officers called my dad, and they're like, your daughter is here because you're literally, because he was the warden of then Northcote Hall. Oh, and they were like, your daughter has come and reported a case at police. How old am I? I am in P3. How are you reporting a police case at that age? But it goes to show me, then I started to understand and to learn that, of course, in hindsight, I now realize that I'm big on fighting injustice. I don't like injustice. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's good. Not of children, not of women, not of mothers. In fact, the second time that person beat me and my siblings, we ran away. We ran away and hid. So I knew now later in hindsight that thing showed me then the kind of person that I would be. So now being an advocate is not a shock for me.
For you.
It's not, because I can see injustice from far. I can see those who are oppressing somebody else.
Yes.
Some of my biggest fights, and one that my mom vividly remembers, was a time I told someone that the days of oppression are over. And there's a person older than me, and my mom was like, Manuela, how could you say so? I said, because the days of oppression are over. We're no longer children. You can't oppress us like that anymore. So I knew, I started to realize, oh, God had started to fashion me as a child in that time to prepare me for where I am even right now. Some other defining moments were just sometimes when, and I've never been able to share the story fully because the time hasn't yet come for it, but just going through early as a child being molested by the men around me, then now I realized I know what protection looks like for children, what safeguarding for children looks like. I know what it looks like when you as a woman and a mother say that you need to leave a home, and you need to leave a home immediately because also your children are at stake, their safety is at stake. There were defining moments like watching a 3-year-old masturbate, because now I know what the potential of children. She's 3 years old. How is she masturbating as a child? And so now there are things that, for me, when I see children, when I hold children at the cradle, even the way we pray for the children is not, it's not your usual kind of, we don't do usual child care at the cradle. I'll tell you one thing that we're having an audit recently. And the auditor was quite shocked that in our KPIs, some of the things that I ask is, what has God told you about the child in your care? Have you prayed for this child? What has God said? Because you can't be raising them and you don't know what God has said about them, because you don't raise a future president the same way you raise a future king, the same way you raise a future lawyer, the same way you raise a future social media influencer, the same way. No. They're raised very differently. Yeah, there are certain common things, but there are things that you have to do differently. And that's why you find that the princes of even our land are raised differently. They're not raised like mere commoners like me and you. You know, princesses are raised differently. They're told to sit differently. They're taught how to do things differently. So I'm asking them, and I'm like, okay, so what has God told you about this child? When was the last time you fasted over this child? That God might tell you, I don't care about the parents, whether they know or they don't know. No, but we are to pray these children into destiny. Because if a child can masturbate as early as 3 years, they are already allowing demonic influence into their lives that early, and they barely know what they are doing and why they are doing it. So no, you don't see a child gyrating in their pampers and you keep quiet. No, this one we pray, we cast away that demon, that spirit in the mighty name of Jesus. So you don't hold things. Life is too spiritual for us to take it too lightly. But those are some of the things that then defined the way I think about certain things. I'm not waiting for the children to become teenagers for us to sort issues. No, we start sorting now at the foundation when God has given them to us in the earliest stages of their lives. They will remember that they were prayed over. They will remember that there was somebody who sought God on their behalf about them. They will remember that they were anointed as they were growing up. So for me, those are some of the things that defined a lot of what I do right now. Another defining moment was my parents separating. Remember my mom just waking up one morning and saying, you know what, it's time for me to leave. I gave my life to Christ, and the Lord has asked me that to leave this relationship because I'm not married in this marriage, and so I need to leave, and your dad is not about to marry me, and so it's time for me to leave. And then she leaves and she's a single woman, a single mom. And then I watch her.
Did you go with her?
Yes, we went with her. And I remember sitting in the car and asking her, Mommy, where are we going? She goes like, I don't know. Like, but we are packed. What do you mean we don't know where we're going? So what did you tell this guy who is, I remember those small pickups. What did you tell this pickup guy, you know, that where we're going? Like where did you tell him we're going? And that was a very defining moment for me because and from that time onwards, I started to see how my mom picked herself up as an uneducated woman, as a single mother. She had no job, had no work, but to see her raise us just showed me how much potential women have, especially those who are better off than she was.
Yes.
And so I can't take it when I see a woman lie on her gifts. I can't contain it when I see a woman seated on the gifts that God has given her. I cannot contain it when I see a woman too fearful of what's on the other side of the door.
Yes.
I'm just like, no, get up, do it. If an uneducated single mother without a job can do something, how about you who has a job? How about you who's educated? How about, like, how much more can you do? Because what could a woman have done so much with hawking juice? Because that's the work that she ended up doing. That's the work that we ended up doing as a family. So you don't even reach that place of hawking juice. But right now when I think about my mom, in fact the other day we were just talking about her and just celebrating her and honoring her.
Oh.
She's not only built a home here in Kampala, but built a home in the village. She has a ranch in the village with juice that was hooked on the street.
Wow.
So how about you who has a job? How about you who has a salary? How about you? She had 3 children to educate through this time. You have 1, you have 2. How much more potential is there that God has put on the inside of you? And so for me, those are some of the things that just,
yes,
define where I'm at. So when I reach a place like Dominate Conference, I'm literally, I feel like getting every woman and
yes. So tell
checking them to see where.
So tell us a bit about Dominate Conference. Or the organization that you have.
Yeah. So actually, Dominate is a women's conference, and it's almost like, just starting off from where I shared earlier.
Yeah.
Women are made for more. Yeah. When you look at the Proverbs 31 woman,
yes,
we are made for much more than we ever think that we are. We are made to win at home and at work. Us going into the workplace is not out of order of what God designed for us as women. No, it's not. She went out into the field. She went out with the merchants. She brought food from abroad. In fact, she's one of the first people I realized that it's okay for me to import food, actually, because she brought food from afar. Yeah, she imported the food that they ate. So I was like, this woman was not a joke. So those days when I used to roll my head over people who import, I stopped when I understood. I'm like, but this Proverbs 31 woman was no joke. And you see, most of the people say things like she didn't really exist. And it makes me sad, because I think that's a lie from the enemy. When you look at the things in the Bible, many of them don't exist. Many of them are faith-based. Why is it that you can believe everything else,
but you can't believe
that the Proverbs 31 woman, that you can be her, that you can have a home with maid servants? Not one. Servants. Not one. So when I hear a woman who says I have 6, so I'm like, it's all right. It's possible. I can have maid servants. When I think about a person like Abraham, who did not have a child, but just between him and his wife, he could come up with an army that would beat kings, 5 kings, to pick up his nephew Lot. How many servants are those? How much property is that they have to take care of? So when I look at the Proverbs 31 woman, she is a 360 woman. She has completely stood in that which God created woman to be. She has completely stood in the mandate of a woman. A woman is not created only for the kitchen. She's not created only for the fireplace. She's not only created for the dining room. I keep saying she's created for the dining and the boardroom. That these same hands here that can write a proposal are the same ones that can face paint my child's face. These same hands that can write a brilliant funding request are the same hands that I use to help sew my child's school uniform. I have that ability because God has placed it in me. And in fact, if you think very deeply and very carefully, for those of us who are on one side of the spectrum, you'll find that most stay-at-home moms desire to do more.
Of course, that's true.
Either it might not be happening now, but it will happen later, especially after their children have left the nest. They'll start to ask, but isn't there more? That desire for more is not a bad thing. It's because God has placed it in the inside of us. It's like how a woman will be there and she's like, but even if they tell her you can't have children, she wants to. It's because it's something that's on the inside of her. And then you find that the woman who's at the workplace also desires to be with her children. That desire is not of the enemy. No, that desire is of God, that we can be able to do both. It's about how to do both. And so for us, that's what we do at Dominate. So we're really preparing women to do both. How do you walk in divine authority at home and at work? Because for both, you have a particular mandate that God has given us. You see, you can't raise the kings, the presidents of our lifetime, and you don't know anything about how the corporate world works. You don't know anything about how politics works.
Okay. So what were the early struggles you faced when starting out, and how did you navigate them? Of course, we've talked about how you had to leave. Your mom had to leave home. Was that? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like those were my mom's challenges.
Talk about yours.
Mine in particular were bracing, and well, let me say, how do you explain to the world what I've just shared with you? Because right now the world is saying it's not possible. So I worked in a bank before. I started out on my own.
Yes.
But it was because God was preparing me for the work that He wanted me to do. I worked with Watoto Church before in the children's ministry.
Okay.
And after working in the children's ministry, I decided to work with a bank. Now, please see the stark difference. In one, I am dancing with children because I was the head of creative arts for the children.
Okay.
So I'm doing praise rallies, we're doing cantatas for the children. That's what we're doing. I'm literally
in the creative
space. And then to move over into the financial sector, and I was doing marketing and communications for the bank. And the bank is a whole stark difference. I remember just changing my wardrobe.
Yes.
From the jeans, t-shirts that I was wearing.
Right. To
in
now
the church.
The suits.
To now the suits and very high heels happening. And everything was different. I remember when I would come from church, the people would make mistakes. And you'd say, I'm sorry. And they would pray over you. In the back. Nobody's praying anything. You're getting a warning letter.
I know.
And you're being... So I went to very, very stark differences.
Yes.
But I remember being at the bank, and people didn't understand when you say God has asked me to do something. They just didn't get it. What do you mean? And I would say, no, I'm telling you, this campaign here, we have to do A, B, C, and D. And they're like, no, we don't. And I would stick to it because I knew that either in a dream or in a vision, I had been told about that campaign.
Right.
And we are going to do it exactly. And I'm going to fight to, even when they would ask me, but why? I would say, I have to do it like this. Yeah. Just them understand us. You know, I think one of my biggest challenges was realizing that indeed we are in this world, but we are not of this world. We are different species. We are created differently. We're created to think differently. We're created to do things differently. Even when we operate within this, even when we operate within the world. Some of my challenges I remember was when I was now leaving the bank. And I told him God has asked me to, well, I don't think I said God has, but those who knew me knew that I'd been called to now go out and do the business that I was doing. And for a period, God had decided to share with me a lot about Moses and how he was raising a generation of young children who at a certain time X will be the Moseses of our land, will be the Moseses of Africa. And he was assigning me some of those children. And he was asking that they be put inside a cradle and sent over to me to take care of. And so when I start to tell the bank that I'm leaving and I'm going to start a daycare center, so obviously to the world you're saying a daycare center, but you know that you've been there's another assignment that you've been given. Yes. And so I'm saying, and I remember my boss saying, so you're going to go off the corridors of power to go and wipe the bums of children. And I remember saying, let me leave these corridors of power, wipe the bums of children, so that more mothers can get into these corridors of power. Wow. And he smiled. A few years later, he told me he would take back that statement. Because he said, you've built a brand. He's like, I can't believe I should have just let you and given you all your freedom to build the brand at that time as you wanted to. Because when I see what you've done with your brands, I'm amazed at it. So I take back my words.
That's nice.
And I said, I receive it. I receive it. But those are some of the challenges.
Yes.
How do you merge God, womanhood? I remember one of my bosses once telling me, I think it was about Valentine's, Brian had sent me flowers and I was really excited about them. And then he said, we shall see you at your 10-year anniversary if you will be that excited. Because women in the bank, in the position that I was in, most of them would not have a marriage for long.
Exactly, that's true. That's
so happened. 10 years later, he sends me a message. Oh, you've stayed married. So people don't understand that. They don't understand how you can be in the world but not of the world. And that's what God is calling us women to.
Yes.
My other challenges were obviously things like finances. How do I start this business that God has asked me to start? And I remember just seeing an ad in the papers for a TV show where you could win $25,000 US.
Oh yes, I remember.
Yes, I think that was the first time.
Oh, that was around that time.
Yeah, so that was the time that people first saw me on.
Yes,
and so I remember going. Yes, so I did it. I didn't win the money, unfortunately, but
I think you came second or something. What?
No, I came, I think, third. There was three of us, but I came third.
Okay.
I would say I came third because the person before me, because there was a one winner takes it all, but the one that I felt was before me was also given money by another company. Airtel gave them the same exact amount of money, so I was the only one not given money. So that's why I say I came third. But it was a one winner takes it all, and there was no positioning at all. And so getting funding was difficult. But I knew what God had told me. And so I started. I remember the one person that gave me money was Amos Wekesa, who said, I know no one has believed in your dream. No one has. But I believe in it. Come meet me. I'm going to give you money. No strings attached. In fact, to date, when I mention his name, he says, but why do you continue mentioning my name? Why do you keep saying my name? So he's the one that gave me $5,000. And I remember saving it and starting to pray over what I wanted to do, what God wanted me to do. And then that's when he started to open his heart out about the cradle. And so that's how I started the cradle with $5,000 at that time. That's what, 15 million at that time, because the dollar was at 3,000. Okay. So we started it, and now it's grown. It's grown to 2 centers. We've served at least 1,000 families. Wow. In the cradle. At least 1,000 families that have gone through us through the last 10 years.
1,000 have gone through you?
Yes.
Oh, it's been there for 10 years. 10
years. Now 11, 20. We started June 2014. So it's about 12 years, coming to 12 years of its existence.
So they're children from what age?
So 3 years and below.
3 and below?
3 and below, yes.
Wow.
At that time, we were the first people that had a childcare center that was a standalone. Because most times, childcare centers were connected to kindergartens.
Yes.
But we were a standalone. We created a curriculum, because no schools have curriculums for children under the age of 3. Because people don't plan play for children.
Yes.
But you should plan how children play and what are they learning in that play. So for us, age-appropriate activities to help them learn what they need to learn for their own development in that time. 0 to 3 is a time 90% of a person's brain is built. So right now, as you and I are here, 90% of our brain was built between 0 to 3. 10% was for the rest of the years. So it's a highly important time of a child's life, highly important time of a human being's life. That's it's the foundations are built. And then you're left with 10% to build for the rest. That's when your child learns resilience. That's when your child learns creativity. That's when how they are raised within the first 3 years of their lives are extremely important. And so for us, just being able to focus on those first 3 years had never been done. We're the first ones to do 24 hours.
Yeah, I'd never
open.
Wow.
Yeah, open, that it's open 24 hours, meaning we don't do boarding facilities because children that age should not be put in boarding.
So
but what that meant is that we are open 24 hours, meaning
you can bring the child at 10 in the night.
10 p.m. You can bring your child at 2 a.m.
And say that you pick the child in the morning at 6.
Exactly.
Okay.
So maybe, for example, as a family, as a parents, you want to go on a date. You have where you can drop your child. Because I can drop them up at 6 o'clock and I come and pick them up at 10 o'clock. There will be a place to hold them.
What about if they're going for a whole weekend?
So when it's a whole weekend, that's okay. We can hold them for a weekend. But their parents who will want for a weekend, that one we can't do.
Okay.
Because a child should have a place that they call home. And this is not home. Yeah, this is a place that's close to home, but it's nowhere near compared to what is available in terms of their relationship with the adults at home. Yeah, so it was the first one of that kind, of its kind. Even the kinds of toys that we had at that time, people had not seen them before. They're now just getting into the market. So it's been quite a while of just being able to build that business from 15 million shillings. So a lot has happened over the years, starting the business and not realizing that I needed to build it as the big business that I wanted it to be, not as a small business, because those are one of the biggest challenges that we have. I keep telling all business owners that are coming into your business, start small, but your business might start small, but think big. So that means have a board over your small business. Do your financials. Make sure you have an accountant who's doing your financial. Make sure you have a team and you're reporting URA that you don't have money. That's okay, that's fine. You're starting your business small, but you're thinking big. Instead of the other way around, you start the business small, you also think small. So at what point will we start to take your business seriously? I was looking at the recent early childhood care and education policy that's coming up. Every daycare center should have a board. Do you know how many daycare centers are going to have struggles with having a board? It's a requirement. It's now a requirement of the government of Uganda. You should have a board. Now we started 10 years ago. It's so much easier. You understand? So you don't know when some of these things that God needs you to do are going to become useful for your business. So you just start to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, Mrs. Mulondo, we've come to the end of the first part. So, viewers, will be right back after this break.
Vine Entertainment Group presents the Moyo Throne Fest on May 9th at Ndere Cultural Center. Experience an unforgettable night of worship with Bunjoville UG, Sandra Sui, Kwesi Godfrey, Brian Lubega, and Nigeria's Floroka. Come hear the sound of heaven live. Tickets are 50,000 silver, 100,000 gold, and 900,000 for a table of 6. Grab yours at carrytickets.com. For reservations, call 0770-857-550 or 0702-300-142. Moyo Throne Fest, powered by Christian Arts Fund, 18 Media, Jacobs, JBL Studios, Onoma Hotel, and
Manifest TV. Christ Revealed.
You think you've seen glory. You you have only glimpsed the horizon. When you think you have tasted power, you have only sipped a few drops. You think you've touched magnificence, you have only brushed the hame of splendor. My Great Price, Season 8, June 13th, 2026, at the Finero Grounds in Naguru. Prepare for a whole new level. Expect a higher dimension. Cross into a deeper realm.
And we are looking for a certain anointing on earth. She's anointed. When it comes to being a mother, she is a mother. When it comes to being a wife, she is a mother. When it comes to being a businesswoman, she's one of the best. When you bring a dead body in her bedroom, she does not call for an ambulance.
More is here.
Welcome back from the break. You're still watching Soaring with Eagles, and we're live on all our Manifest platforms. We're also live on YouTube. And my guest today is Mrs. Manuela Mulondo.
Yes.
Yes. So, Mrs. Mulondo, many people see the success today.
Yeah.
You've talked about the cradle, the dominant. What are the sacrifices that came with building your career?
I think my biggest sacrifice was sacrificing my own dream. And it's a shock because everybody would expect that these were my dreams. No.
What were your dreams at that time?
These were instructions. If you were to ask me what I really hoped that I would be growing up, I wanted to be an engineer. In fact, more precisely an architect. I love beautiful spaces. I love buildings. In fact, there was a period before I wanted to be an architect, I wanted to be a pilot. Those who knew me in secondary school, especially S5, my room was full of planes. You know how young girls have like
dolls and everything.
Dolls and whatever. I had planes. And then I later realized maybe that won't be possible in this country. So maybe I can be an architect. That's where my life was. I'm reminded of Abraham, and I just think through what are some of the things that he had wanted to be. But no, God wanted him to go and move from one place to another.
So you're actually living purpose.
Yeah. I remember once someone asked me, what exactly do you do? I said, I do purpose. I live on instruction. If I have no instruction, I have no business doing it. And I have learned that it gives me way more joy than anything else. So everything I've done from the cradle, even the cradle itself, when you watch what I wanted to do, I wanted to create an experiential learning center. How did I end up with a cradle? That was complete instruction. In fact, I wanted to deal with children older than 3. So children younger than 3, no. In fact, there were times I used to tell people that if I was not to work with children above 3, I would want to work with their moms. They're easier to handle. At least. Yes. So even the things that I wanted to do, as they continued to evolve, none of them was involved. I'd never ever wanted to have build an event, a conference like Dominate. It was never in my dreams.
Mind. Yes.
It was never something that I anticipated that I would ever do.
Yes.
Did I dream of being able to speak to thousands of women? Yes. Because I would be invited, maybe, for example, to Finero to do at My Great Price, and I speak. That one is wonderful. Because somebody else is organizing me, I'm just speaking. So even when I would see some of those things, it wasn't me organizing the event. How did I end up being the one that's organizing the event? So I will tell you one thing. For me, it was just giving up my dreams, giving up what I really wanted to do that which God has asked me to do. to walk in obedience is difficult. It's difficult, but it's what gives you the greatest joy.
Amen.
So every other challenge that I've had it's been those things where I've just thought to myself, God will just take care of it. I'm not going to worry about it. When I started to work with getting the conference on board, at no point did I think that a corporate organization would back a vision like Dominate. But now I have 6 corporate organizations that do. And I'm just like, this must be God. It's not me. This must be God. When you're saying you're going to start the first child care center that's only child care as an entire institution, not a home in someone's house where you're just getting children and putting them together. To be honest, some of those things I would never have thought of doing them. But they are what show me that it's completely what God wanted. Even building my own personal brand wasn't a plan that I had in my heart. No, I was happy the way I wanted to be, just post whatever I want to post, comment whatever I want to comment on anybody's post. This was nowhere near my plan. I never planned to be famous. I never planned to be, no, it wasn't a part of my plan, because I know what comes with that territory. I know the expectations that the world has of you. And so it wasn't something that I was planning. And I know that there are many women who understand exactly what I'm saying. You're never there, Pastor Joy. I don't think you are there as a child saying, I'm going to be a pastor. In fact, one of my earliest memories was my mom spanking me because I had killed all her plants. I was caning them because in my mind I was going to be a teacher. So I was whooping all the plants, and all the petals were off, and I was telling them, you have to be disciplined. So how did I come from there to where I am right now? No, I had to let go of those dreams. And every day I just marvel at God and what He can do and what He's done. And I don't take anything for granted. I don't take any opportunity for granted. I don't take coming here lightly. I don't, because I don't know what God is up to, but I know that He has a great plan.
Amen.
And most times it's not even what I'm planning to do. There are times He will tell me to call someone and say that you're going to work with this person, and I call them and they say, oh yes, I knew you were going to call, and this is what God is telling me to do for your brand. I'm like, what? It's amazing. It's amazing what God does. And so for me, that was my biggest one.
Yes.
My biggest sacrifice. Because for many of us, when God calls us to do His work, we still want to do what we want.
That's true. Where you try to fight.
You still fight.
Yeah.
And yet He's leading you in a whole other direction. And you're saying, no, I heard Manuela say that He has placed something on the inside of me, and I want to start a child care center like her. Listen, God might be telling you to stay in the office that you're in, to build the business that He has given His servant in that business. So it's, even when people call me and say, I want to start a child care center, what can I do? I ask them, what did God say? No, me, I love children. I say, I get that. In fact, even me, there are things that I love. I love singing, but I'm not a musician. I love dancing, but I'm not a dancer. I love acting, but I'm not in movies. I'm not. Why has God called you to? What is it? You need to be able to tell me that this happened. I got a prophecy. I got a vision. These are the dreams that I've been having that tell me that this childcare is a place that God has called me to. Yeah.
Okay. So what did your corporate background, how did your corporate background influence your approach to business? System.
How much more time do I have? Because I'll say systems. Systems and structure. Systems, structure, discipline. That's what the corporate background, the corporate sector gave me. And that's why I say that it's so important for us to notice why God has planted us in the spaces that we are at. For a moment when I was in a bank, I thought, oh, maybe one day I'll be the MD of a big corporate organization now that I'm here. Only for God in the middle somewhere there to say, okay, time is up. I'm like, what? Wait, I'm supposed to be the CEO of a big corporate organization. What do you mean I'm leaving now? And yes, you're leaving to go and work on the cradle that I have given you. So just to know why, and I love God, because in that moment then I started to ask things like, okay, so if I'm leaving, then what am I leaving out? What am I taking out of this place? Because it is in every place, every garden He's planted you, it is for you to grow. It is for Him to mold you. It's for Him to prepare you for that which He has created for you.
Yes.
In fact, for some of us, God has created us for the things that we know we should be going into. But because where we are, we've not yet been planted enough to produce fruit, but also to pick what we're supposed to pick out of it to move to the next garden, He can't move us.
That's
So
true.
I truly believe that by the time I'd left the bank, I had done
You
what I
had
was
done
supposed
what
to
you're
do in the
supposed to
bank.
do. Yes.
I really believe that 100%. But also, secondly, I then started to ask, what do you want? What am I supposed to get out of this? After I'd finished crying the fact that I was no longer going to be the CEO of a corporate organization, I started to ask things like, okay, so what am I supposed to take away from here? And so He started to speak to me about systems and processes and structure. And so I remember in that time in the marketing department, most times when you're in marketing, you stay within the confines of your business. But now when I knew what He wanted me to do, I started to talk to all the department heads a little differently. I started to ask them things like, so how do you do this? Or so why do you do this? Or so what kind of systems do you have? What is the structure around this? I was constantly asking questions. I was asking the finance director. I was asking the head of credit. I was asking the head of risk. I was asking the head of products. I was asking the head of retail. I was asking the head of commercial. I was asking the head of operations. I was always asking questions. Oh, so what kind of paperwork do you have? And then they would show me the paperwork. And by then, I'm still not yet understanding
why you're asking
all these questions, why I'm asking for all their drafts, templates. I don't know why. It is later that I now understand why I'm supposed to, because I'm supposed to translate them into the childcare business. I'm like, oh, even my own boss, I started to ask more questions. So when we have a campaign, what do you think about? When you have to procure services, what do you think about? I started to enter more into the administrative, operational, boring side of marketing, so that I could understand how other businesses work. In fact, it was quite instrumental that God put me in marketing, because marketing works with every department. I worked with legal, I worked with everybody, because God needed me in that time. And I'm telling you, that day I finished my last person like this, I was out. The business hit, the business became, I was no longer putting any money into it. It broke even.
The cradle.
Yes, the cradle broke even. And then He said, now it's time to go. Because it was a celebration for the entire team.
So you started the cradle when you were still there, when you were still working?
Yes, I started it while I was working.
Yes.
But I had somebody else in the business.
Yes.
I wasn't involved 100% in the business. I was doing the more administrative, operational side of the business. But imagine, I didn't know much until He decided to tell me, now you're about to leave. And so I started to incorporate some of the things. So if the head of procurement says that when they're procuring services, they have to list 3 suppliers, they have to ask which of these 3 suppliers are we going to work with. He showed me the template that they use. Of course, they wouldn't give them to me because that's not allowed, but I would see how they are evaluating the 3 suppliers, how they've sent out a terms of reference, how people have responded, how they've picked out all of them and done a tracker for them, and then being able to evaluate and say, this is the person we've decided to work with. And then for me to tell my team, friends, this is what we're going to do starting now. And then I'm sending them all the templates, and so they are starting to work on procurement in like a small business like this. We started to do procurement as if we are a bank. Yeah, we started to do business like a bank. And so that was when I knew that, okay, God is preparing me for a certain time. I don't know why, but I'm going to start doing it. In fact, 12 years later, when I look at the early childhood care and education policy, I now understand. 12 years ago. 12, because some of these things we are going to have to report to the local government as a daycare center. So if you don't have those things, how are you going to do it?
How are you going to manage?
How? How?
Wow.
But he started to prepare me 12 years ago, 15 years ago for it.
Wow.
So I would, yeah. We don't know why God has placed us where we are, but we're supposed to produce fruit, and we're supposed to pick up certain things that we're supposed to go to. It reminds me of conversations that I've been having with some of my mentees. When you go into battle with the enemy over something that he's stolen from you, when you go into battle, you're supposed to destroy the men of that land, plus the women and the children, and you're supposed to pick up the spoils. So what spoils are you picking up? When the enemy has come in your home and devastated your home, and you've gone to his camp and you've destroyed his camp, what spoils are you picking up? So for me, those are some of my spoils that I picked up, and I went with.
And you went with,
and I've continued to run with them right now. I mean, my business is that kind of business where they will not see me for an entire year. But they'll still run.
Oh, wow.
They'll still run.
Structures.
Yes.
Systems.
That's what you get in your corporate organization. So where you are, if you know that's not where you're supposed to be, and you feel like it's time for you to leave, ask, have you done what you are supposed to do there? And what are you supposed to pick up from that place, so that God now can send you to your next assignment?
Yes, so we've talked about the Cradle. What inspired you to start the Dominate Conference, yes.
So actually, I wouldn't say it was an inspiration. I think it was an instruction. Because it started in 2020. God started to speak to me about it. He started to speak to me about the fact that I was working with older women who have children, and I'm working with them on how to raise their children and preparing those young children for the time that is coming, that they're going to be the Moses of Africa, of our land. Those guys are going to fight for our world.
Wow.
They're going to fight for Africa, because we're going to see what's going to happen.
Yes.
Maybe I might not have enough time to share what's coming to this world, but why it's important for our children to get ready for that time, because they will be the leaders of that time, and they will need to fight for Africa. They will need to fight for our heritage. They will need to fight for our culture. They will need to fight for our God. They will need to fight for our belief system. They will need to fight for our morals. That time is coming, and they're the ones that will do it for us. But that said, God started to share with me that even the generation after, so the generation will also be the Moseses. So he started to talk to me about talking to the younger girls who will therefore give birth to the children of the Moseses of their time. I don't know if that makes sense.
The women.
The women I was working with at that time were going to give birth to the Moseses.
Okay.
But the young of their time, this is about 40 years from now.
Yes.
Now, the women who are younger than the women I was working with are going to give birth to the children who will be younger than those Moses. Exactly.
Okay.
So they will be being led by the Moseses, right? So God started to talk to me about speaking to the younger women who would be preparing those children who would now be working with the Moseses of their time. And so obviously they are younger. And in my mind I'm like, hey, but Lord, am I called to children? Am I called to older women? Am I called to younger women? How? And even in marketing, I was told to niche. I'm advised to focus.
Yes.
I'm looking very disorganized to the world. And he asked me, is it the world that you work for or for me? And I said, it is you I work for. And so he started to show me about Bezalel, and how he had gifted Bezalel to work in gold, in silver, in bronze, in carpeting, in stone. Have you ever seen a stone guy who works in gold? He didn't exist. But Bezalel did. Because God had given him that spirit.
Yes.
God started to share with me that there are people he's given his spirit to be able to work on multiple things, where niching and focusing is not of him. Actually, when you niche and focus, then you are in disobedience. So I let go. Now that one passed me. So whoever says that one, she's always confused, I just let it pass over my head, because I know there was a Bezalel. Not only Bezalel, even Ohialab, who was going to be his assistant, had been given the same spirit. So I let go of that, and I said, okay, fine, Lord, I'll do what you asked me to do. So he starts to tell me how he wants to speak to that younger generation of women to prepare them. I said, okay, fine. He started to show me how the work that I was doing with the older women to stay in their marriages, to raise their children, right? Some of those things were falling on deaf ears because it was already too late. I needed to speak to the younger women before it was too late. How do you choose the right husband? How do you choose the right job? How do you choose the right career? Should I move left or should I move right? I needed to start speaking to them before they made those life-altering decisions, such as marriage or what career or where they've gone to school. I needed to start to speak to them about it. And so I said, fine, Lord, I'll do it. But how?
Yes.
Then silence for about a year. And then one day my husband is watching a TV show, and then he sees this big women's conference, and then he pauses and then just says, do you know that you're going to do this event here? Every woman needs a man that can prophesy over their lives. My husband prophesied it. Immediately he said it, I connected immediately. This is the answer of the how. And then I remember, so this is happening in 2021. So 2019, 2020, he starts to speak to me about it. The Lord starts to speak to me about it. 2021, my husband confirms it. Now, between 2022 and 2025, I was on a Jonah escapade. Do, I don't do. I do, I don't do. I do, I don't do. But in those 3 years, God started to send me people that would confirm the message. So 2022, I get lots of confirmations. 2023, I get other confirmations. Now, 2024, I start getting warnings. I remember my last and final warning came around December 2024. I knew I had to do it. Where it had reached, I now had to do it. And so that's when I did it. But that's the genesis of
you've done it about 3 times or 2 times?
I've done it twice now.
Oh, twice.
It's happened twice, yes.
Okay. So how did your faith journey begin? Let's just talk about that very, very briefly.
Yeah. My parents took us to Sunday school.
Okay.
At Makerere University.
Yes.
St. Francis. Yes.
Yes, of course.
And it was Sunday plot for every child. It didn't matter.
Yes.
St. Francis and St. Augustine.
Yes.
It didn't matter who you were. All the children, we just loved. All children went to church on the Makerere Hill. I hope it still happens. It didn't matter whether you were in the flats, or it didn't matter where you were. Or you would find that all children without parents were moving towards church. So we're among those children who'd move to church without us.
You're the Anglican in
the Anglican one in St. Francis. And so I remember that's where, after a while, that's where I actually got baptized, because our parents baptized us a little later. And then around baptism happened way later, but around my 6-year birthday, I got an invitation to go to Watoto Church to watch Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames. I think an uncle was picking us up, I don't remember, put us on a pickup. Many of us went to watch. It was a children's show. And I remember sitting right at the edge of the side where there is hell. So I was in the audience, but it was so packed. So we sat on the floor. And I was the last child on the pew, like on the ground, but the last part of the pew. And so I remember in the beginning, when the devil comes out, he comes and he does this whole scaring everybody, and we're all shouting. Now he had a chain that he threw in the pews, between the pews. So that means it just passed me, and everything on the inside of me shook. And the padlock, because it was like, I felt like there was a padlock at the end of it, and it just hit the ground, and I saw the ground cracked open. I said, what about the one who's acting like the devil is big, like, catch the real one. I decided at that point and at that time I was going to give my life to Christ. I didn't even remember the rest of the play, but I remember that's when I gave my life to Christ. And whether it was because it was a scary thing, I got scared into heaven, I don't care. It was the best scary thing that led me to the best thing that has ever happened in my life. So I gave my life to Christ, and I remember giving my life to Christ. I kind of got ripe for it because my sister gave her life to Christ before I did. And so I used to watch her pray, and I liked it. Cynthia, she was called Cynthia. She is called Cynthia. I saw Cynthia give her life to Christ, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's so big. She carried a peace around her that the rest of us didn't have. She'd watch us fight and just look at us and just walk away. I was like, why can't I be like that? Why am I always cantankerous? I'm the one at the police station, I'm the one running. Why? I admired that about her. And so by the time it was time to give my life to Christ, I was like, oh, this is what Cynthia was doing.
Yes.
So I remember giving my life to Christ. So she was the first person that gave her life to Christ. And then I followed right after. I don't know when my brothers did, but then I remember when my mom did. My mom used to smoke like a fish. She used to smoke like a chimney and drink like a fish.
Oh, really?
That's how much she used to. And so she decided to give her life to Christ.
That is nice.
And so then our faith journey just continued from then on.
Yes.
And I've never looked back since then. Have I had my fallings? Yes. When you give your life to Christ at 6 years, by the time you reach the 36th year,
Yes.
if you look back, you say, the Lord saved me really early. In fact, I keep saying that if I could sin the way I sinned after I gave my life to Christ, when I had some form of conviction, imagine if I had no conviction. I'm so glad he saved me. He saw me very quickly and he said, this one, I better save her early. And so he saved me really early. So yeah, I've lived that life of recommitting and committing and recommitting, and until one day I said, but no, I can't keep doing this. This has to stop. And yeah, I just said, okay, fine. I'm going in wholly, and fully, and I'm going to work for Christ. Yeah.
So we can't end the show without saying something about being the wife to Brian Mulondo.
Yeah. Yes.
So how it's like 2 minutes left to the end of the show. So how has faith shaped your marriage?
It has a lot, and I think for me, Brian was the number one. He was what taught me what faith looks like in a marriage. Because I was clouded by the fact that my mother walked away from my dad. And so I always felt like it was a possibility for me. And it's something that I always told him that is possible for me.
It's possible for you to
I can walk away. I know what it is to walk away. If I don't even fear being poor, because we've ever been poor. So it's, please, I don't mind not having support of a man. I've never grown up. I didn't grow up with my dad. My mom didn't have anyone to help her. So please, treat me well. Otherwise, I'll walk out. But Brian showed me what it means for Christ to love the church, where he forgives the church, he loves the church, he would die for the church, he gives himself up for the church. I saw that first from Brian. I'd never seen it from anyone else, where he said, it doesn't matter if you want to walk out, I'm not going anywhere. I came to get married. He said, you said, Naja kufumba. And here I will stay. So for me, it wasn't my faith that kept me in the marriage. It was Brian's faith that kept me in the marriage. And I'm forever grateful to him that amidst everything that we went through, he remained Christ for me, Christ for the church. He remained that for me. And I'll forever be grateful.
Wow. Amen. So we've come to the end of the show, but before we close, I'd like you to look into your camera and give your parting shots.
Okay. God has called us to big assignments in this world. Like I said earlier, we are in this world, but we are not of this world. And the question right now that I'd like you to go back home with and to ponder on is, what is that God has called you to, and are you doing it? Because if you're not, people's lives, people's homes, people's worlds depend on you doing that which God has called you to do. Sometimes it's not comfortable. Many times it's nowhere near what you thought you would do. But I want you to know that the person that lights your steps is God. He is a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your path. Take that step. Uncomfortable, big as it is, small as it is. Some don't look anything like you, but do it. And may God be with you, for he has promised that he will be with you all the days of your life until the end. So see you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Mulondo. So viewers, I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, may the Lord bless you, expand your territories and borders, lay his hand upon you and keep you far away from evil. Bye-bye.
Manifest TV. Christ